I'll be real with you, I still have a lot of improving to go piloting this deck, but it did really well recently in tournaments, so I wanted to give it a shot. Castelle Forestcraft. With the Plumeria effect of giving one of your fairies per turn Storm, you can end games as early as turn 7 with this deck by having 20 Forestcraft followers leave play, and then the Castelle token spell Verdant Prayer buffs all of your 1-drops up by a huge amount, then you send them face for game. That aforementioned fairy, as well as Bond Forger, otherwise known as Frostborn Princess, being the way that you win. You accelerate the amount of followers leaving play, as well as some early chip with Salvia Panther and Windflower Tiger. Sapling Steward, incredibly important to get your own cards out of play and cycle through your deck. Fairy Fun Fact is great for cycle, trading, and also once Plumeria effect is up, it gives you an evolved fairy to attack with, meaning you can spend your evolve elsewhere to finish the game. And then Nature's Guidance and Thicket of Gnarled Hands for your bounce. The most important bounce targets usually being Sapling Steward or Castelle herself. I do run the one of Licorice Venomous Princess. The new card allows you to kill off one of your own cards, like a useless fairy or something. Then this can evolve for free and draws a card. This can trade into anything with Bane, and then the next time they play a follower, it gives it -5/-5, which can take out some of the biggest threats in the game. For example, Jean and Golem Lord. It's not universally useful though. This one is much more universally useful. So you could replace her with Lily, which makes it way better against Last Words, but is useless against Mysteria, so pick your poison. It's actually kind of hard to play this deck though, and it feels rewarding to do so. For me at least, every game I play, I feel like I still could be doing something better. So let's get into the games, but first make sure to like the video and subscribe. It really does help out. So here's a game I played against Rally Swordcraft, which I think is the most popular Swordcraft deck right now, beating out Loot and Control Sword, which obviously I have a soft spot for. Check out my video from a few days back. But yeah, Rally Sword. Seems like Alwida was actually an okay card after all, maybe. I still don't love it, but you know, hey, it is what it is. I play out the Plumeria on 1 just to get the effect active, and I don't have to think about it for the rest of the game. And I bounce it back. Obviously, playing a 1-drop into Windflower or Salvia Panther is the ideal turn 1, turn 2. Want to get that Fun Fact as active as soon as possible. I want to get that Fun Fact active as soon as possible. I forgot how to speak for a second. And I want to be able to yeah, just have that tempo that the Windflower Salvia affords me. Now, usually I don't like drawing Invoke cards, but in this matchup specifically, drawing May saved my bacon because Rally Sword just makes boards full of 1-drops every turn. And it's like, yeah, May is good against that, apparently. Speaking of which, they did it again. The new Invisible Soldier card just making a board full of 1-drops, and I'm like, okay, hope I actually draw the May again, weirdly enough. Not something I usually say about cards that I can invoke. I did play the Asuka Shiori here. It's nice to have Asuka Shiori. Usually you want to be going first with this deck, but going second, the Asuka Shiori does take the sting off a little bit. And I found that without Asuka Shiori, you end up out of resources a lot of the time, because a lot of turns you're just playing many 1-drops, so then you end up running out of hand. Asuka Shiori helps solve that problem for me personally. Maybe it's just my playstyle, but I did get the May, thank God. And we were able to clear. I think this turn I actually mess up. My Fairy Fun Fact should be at 9 procs, and it needs 10 to do the draw. I should have bounced this sapling first rather than playing the Fun Fact right away. I was, in my defense, playing at a cafe at night a few hours ago. I was sipping my coffee, not really paying attention, but that is something I could have improved on there. Thinking the entire turn through rather than just playing cards as they come, which is something I'm kind of guilty of sometimes. Just take a breather, bro. Slow down. Think the whole turn through. Nobody's rushing you, okay? Anyway, they end up playing the Monica here and evolving it, trying to get their board a little thicker. I'm not actually entirely sure why they did this, knowing that I invoked May the last turn. Did they think I wouldn't be able to play it for its full effect or something? I don't actually know, because this board is really easy for me to clear now. So yeah, I play the Fairy Fun Fact, actually having the procs this time, which is nice, getting 2 storms here. I just play the May here as a body to bounce back with the Windflower Tiger. Trade this one so that all the bodies get cleared, and May is just gonna clean this up, no problem. Ba-bam. I end up evolving the May to trade, knowing that if I draw Castelle, I'll get evolve points back from the spell anyway. So I'm just gonna get the chip damage in while I can. And I don't have a bounce for the May here anyway, so there's no point really in preserving it, like I was doing before. Or like, even though May was valuable in the turns before, I felt like without a bounce, I wasn't going to be able to adequately protect it anyway, so I'll just send it in and do the chip damage instead. Monica evolve again to buff up this Gawain, it looks like, and that goes and trades, leaving me with a Bond Forger. Thankfully, I have 2 Sapling Stewards in hand and an Asuka Shiori, so I can still refill my hand, which is super important. Even though I don't have the evolve point, I do, or the evolve point advantage, I should say, I do still play the Asuka Shiori hard cast for 3 play points. Important to me. To get my hand back to full, and obviously to dig for Castelle. By the way, Castelle bottom 18. I don't know if you noticed that. My Castelle is in the bottom 18 of the deck. That's not good. Now here is my accidental question mark big brain play. You know what? Here is my completely intentional big brain play. That's right. Who's gonna know? I ended up board locking them, keeping myself alive. Now let's draw through the deck with very fun fact. There's the Castelle, bottom 17. We finally got her. Hey, as long as we get her right before the end, that's all that matters, right? Bounce her back, get the Castelle back, play another Castelle. I got 2 Bond Forgers in hand. You know what that means, right? I get to play Bond Forger. I get to play Bond Forger again. And then I get to play double Verdant Prayer. And that's the win con, baby. That's the win condition. Ba-bam. Ba-bam. That's 27 damage. GG. Now here's a game against last word Shadowcraft. One that I was actually quite nervous about losing because I've lost this matchup before, and the Licorice doesn't really do much because Lily would be much better, obviously, to prevent the Dark Alices from doing as much damage to my face. But I just, you know, we persevere. We go through it. Thankfully, I'm going first, and I do have a 1-drop into a Salvia Panther, which is the best possible thing you could ask for. Other than Windflower Tiger, obviously. So, yeah, I was like, I'm not confident about winning this one, but I'm gonna stick with it, see what happens. The good thing about having Salvia Panther instead of Windflower Tiger is that this 1-3 actually prevents them from trading, which was a big deal. That board is now preserved for me to use Sapling Steward on, and now they can't come through. I end up playing the Cannon here for an additional body, thinking they haven't been able to evolve yet, since it's only turn 3. This Windflower is gonna block, so I might as well get the bodies out now, get in some chip, and then I'll focus on bouncing more priority targets later, which is this turn. Like I said in the deck highlights, Sapling Steward is one of the best things to bounce because it just keeps the train going. It's like your main engine, right? I bounced the Sapling Steward yet again, knowing that I'm probably gonna need the draw in the future. For example, I don't have Plumeria or Hatsune Miku here, and at this point I'm thinking I'm at full hand. If I mill Plumeria or Hatsune Miku, I'm actually going to be so sad because right now my only damage dealer for the OTK turn is 1 Bond Forger, and I have 2 fun facts. So getting Plumeria / Hatsune Miku is, I think, actually essential for me to win. So I'm like, don't mill it, don't mill it, don't mill it, and hey, that's fine. I have a Sapling Steward in hand anyway, so whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Sapling Steward, I only need the 1 if I keep bouncing it, right? At this point, the 10 proc is up. There's Licorice in hand. Not the best in this matchup. It's not really preventing anything, but it does give me a free draw and a free Bane, which can be annoying for the opponent. Send the Salvia Panther to the face. Just do a bit of chip so my Castelle has to do less work in the future. Knowing that this deck doesn't have that much healing, it has like what? The Grave Void Knight Evolve and Aldous, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and Colonel last words, I guess. But that's not until way later. So yeah, just do the chip so that my Castelle has to do less work on the OTK turn. Grave Void Knight comes out, and you know there's an Alice in board. There's Miku. Oh my god, thank you. And I have another Castelle in hand already, so I'm okay spending the Castelle here just to get my Licorice active. Because like with one I only really need 2 or 3 Verdant Prayers. I already have 1 Castelle in hand, and I'm probably gonna draw a bounce for it later. So I'm like, okay, I'll sack one Castelle. I'll sack my Hatsune Miku to get me to full health, just in case. I don't know how much damage output they have. In a really lucky turn, Last Words can just do 20 in one turn with 2 Alices, proc with Istandet, face, proc with like Apple and Night Terrors, second Istandet, and that's 20 in one turn. So I'm like, okay, that's bad. So 20 is the maximum. But I don't want to make their job easier, so I just put myself to 20 anyway, rather than being at 19, because I think there are outs where they can do 19, right? Like evolve Istandet for Skullfish, etc., a bunch of shenanigans like that. Anyway, I just thought it was a safer play. But here we go, boys. I got another Castelle even, double Bond Forger, 1 fairy, Verdant Prayer, that's lethal, baby, because I have the evolve point for the other Bond Forger, because my fun fact auto evolves. That's turn 7. GG.